Well, it turns out you have this inflammatory effect from the pressure changes in flight. And if you can block or mitigate that inflammatory response, suddenly you can flip someone's circadian rhythm very quickly.
You've created a jet lag cure. I was hoping you could tell me a little bit about that, your motivation for creating it, what's in it, how it works. I'm asking from a personal point of view because I've done quite a bit of traveling recently, but it's something that's available now that could severely improve how someone looks and feels. Could you tell us a little bit more about it, please?
Sure. So I was working with the Navy dive community, and they do these really quite impressive missions. It can be 8 hours underwater in cold water. It's really quite physiologically impactful. And what we learned was the pressure changes in diving can cause an inflammatory response, can cause your immune system to go out of control. And actually, this is most likely the cause of the bends or decompression sickness, as opposed to the nitrogen bubbles that we've all been taught, and I've trained to scuba dive, and I was taught that those are the cause. So this inflammatory response is at least part of, if not the major cause there. And so was quite interested in how you could mitigate that effect and make diving safer and make certain more aggressive dive profiles safer. And realized that then, fast forward working with clients, saw that people were having inflammatory effects from air travel. And we were able to put together that pressure changes in flight, like those in diving, cause an inflammatory response. And so the reason you feel often quite bad when you fly, that your legs will swell, that people get more blood clots when they sit 12 hours on a plane. People sit 12 hours on their couch all the time and don't get blood clots in their legs. So what's going on? Well, it turns out you have this inflammatory effect from the pressure changes in flight. And if you can block or mitigate that inflammatory response, suddenly you can flip someone's circadian rhythm very quickly. And so what we've done is we've built an AI-driven algorithm that can take the insights from our initial clients. How do you time specific supplements when you eat, when you sleep, how much you sleep? And some of these things are quite counterintuitive when you're exposed to light. So we basically can give you a custom program based on your body, your travel, and your preferences. And then we give you these specific supplements that mitigate the immune response, the inflammatory response, and then can, for example, make your brain more sensitive to the effects of light. So there's supplements that will do that. There's glasses that can block blue light, and blue light shuts down your melatonin production response. So we've combined all of these tools in a way that allows us to mitigate that inflammatory response, flip your circadian rhythm, and we can send now 93, 95% of people to Europe, Asia, Australia, anywhere in the world with minimal to no jet lag.
And it's called Flight Kit.
Yeah.
Can you tell us maybe just a couple of examples of the supplements that are included and what they do, how they work?
Sure. So the first thing we want to do is mitigate that inflammatory response. And so in Flight Kit, we use 4 primary supplements. The first thing to mitigate that inflammatory response is going to be these flavanol compounds, proanthocyanidins from tart cherries. This is a fruit extract, plus ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C. And then the second thing is we're going to use highly purified concentrated omega-3 fatty acids. So especially EPA is a precursor to anti-inflammatory compounds in the body. So we're using those to sort of downregulate and then kind of support the immune system. And then the methyl forms of vitamin B12, that actually makes your brain more sensitive to the effects of light. So light plus methylated B12 can actually shift your circadian rhythm forward. We're using that in combination with B6 to support energy production. We're using a mixture of magnesium glycinate and melatonin to kind of calm the brain and nervous system and not so much put you to sleep. Melatonin's sort of misunderstood as people think about using it to put you to sleep. It's really what's called a Zeitgeber, which is a signal to your brain that it's time to start shutting down. And so we're using all these tools along with a special drink mix that gives you an insulin response, which you normally don't want from sugar. But when we combine that with caffeine and that vitamin B12, we can actually use it to kind of reset your circadian rhythm. And then we turn off the inflammatory effects of it with the next supplement dose. So again, super integrated program, thinking across the immune system, the brain, the circadian rhythm peripherally where that insulin response affects you. and sort of how to just sort of keep you awake long enough, feeling good enough, and then land you into sleep that first night so that next day you can feel great.
For someone who doesn't have access to fly kit, who's maybe traveling on an airplane in the next couple of days, what's your advice for them? What can they do before, during, and after their flight to mitigate some of the effects that your products do? So
at a minimum, you want to decrease the inflammation as much as you can. So how can you do that? One, if you exercise beforehand, you're going to actually put your body in a state to be able to soak up that inflammation and pull it out better. If you have access to a sauna or a cold plunge before, even better. If you don't have our tools, then eating while you're traveling can actually kind of accentuate or exacerbate that inflammation. So either if you're open to fasting, that can be a good option, or if you're going to eat, you want to have lower carbohydrate, more vegetables, and lean proteins, chicken or fish. You definitely, if you can, want to avoid the airplane food. Turns out that the lower pressure in the airplane makes your taste buds less sensitive, so they have to add often a lot more salt, and all that salt, then you're dehydrated already, and it causes all these effects. So plenty of water, hydration, and then when you get to your destination, boom, if you can do another or first workout, that can also settle the immune system a bit. To the extent you can avoid light, in the 2 hours before bed, or wear blue light blocking glasses, which are commercially available. So again, all these tools, it's all about putting them together, but I think all of those are recommendations that can really help people. Definitely movement at your destination. Light's a tricky one though. Often people will say, hey, get light at your destination, but there are time periods when light at your destination will actually cause the wrong circadian shift. So that one's actually a little more complicated recommendation. What about for someone who is traveling across vast time zones? Are some of those measures equally applicable, or are there other things you can do if you are going through a big time zone shift? So all of those help because the inflammation's a big piece of this, and it will slow down your circadian reset. So if you need to shift time zones, then what you want to do is, to the extent possible, without the kind of tools that we use, you want to make sure you don't eat in a way that's going to keep you awake past when you want to be at your destination. So can shift meal times sooner. Make sure you don't sleep too much. I think this is one of the biggest mistakes made. If you're leaving New York and flying to London, for example, and you went to bed at your normal time in New York and woke up at your normal time in LA, or slept the entire flight, you might suddenly wake up at 2 or 3 p.m. London time, and then you're going to have an awfully difficult time going to bed at 10 p.m. in London. Now you're suddenly up till 2 or 3 or 4 a.m. You got to wake up at 6 a.m. and suddenly your whole system is off. So, you need to balance the getting enough sleep with not too much. And if you can sleep earlier or closer to your destination time zone, great. And if not, then maybe even a little bit less sleep so that you'll be tired. Those things are much harder without basically we can, using the anti-inflammatory protocols, we can actually decrease the effect of not getting enough sleep on you for at least that first night. You can't turn off needing sleep forever. If we did, we'd have a very different business. But I think that's what everyone does though, isn't it? They try and think, oh, I'm going to struggle, I need to bank as much sleep as possible now. But like you said, that's almost the worst thing you could be doing. It depends on the flights. This is why we've built these software solutions to help with this, is because often it's quite counterintuitive.